Hey Hodies, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today I'm going to give you some of my final thoughts on the Kaleidos products that I bought a few months ago and just let you know how my relationship has grown with them, whether or not I'm going to keep them. But if you are new here, hello! My channel is all about loving my makeup collection as it currently is, and I like to be very discerning about what I invite into my makeup collection. So while I've been testing all of this Kaleidos makeup, not all of it's going to stay with me. Anything I don't want, I'm going to pass on to friends or find a home for it outside of my home. My intention is not to just throw it away. So the kind of content where someone just regularly uses their own makeup and loves it is the kind of content that you want to subscribe to. There's a button right below my name that says subscribe, and then that kind of content will just like show up in your feed more because it'll be me. So I'd love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video, and I'm also on patreon.com if you would like to support me there. There's absolutely no pressure to do so. I'm just really happy that you are here. But thank you to all of my current patrons for making videos like this one happen. The time has come. So I've spent some time with these Kaleidos products, and I'm going to share my final thoughts, as I said earlier, and I'm going to just let you know what I think it was worth it for me, but just share my honest opinion about all of the items that I bought with you. And so my new favorite way to kind of talk about brands in such a way is to talk about my least favorite product and then go up to my most favorite product. We're going to do that. My least favorite product that I tried is I have one of this, I don't even know what these are called. I can't read the bottom of this. I know the shade is Night of Creation, but this is one of their multi-chrome eyeliners. Before we move on to anything else, this is the only product that I did not get along with. Could it make work for me? It was not it. So I'm going to lead into what I say with the caveat that in my other videos where I've used this and complained about it, I have only heard opposition to my experience. So I'm not saying that my experience is invalid. I have heard that no one has had the same issues as me, so I'm not sure if I got a dud. But I also heard from my friend Andromeda, who is a creator on Instagram, that this shade in particular is not the tea, and I somehow found I didn't realize that when I bought it, but so we'll come back to that thought at the end. I didn't like this. It was, I don't even have it on my face today. I find it so unpleasant to use. It is dry, it is crusty, it does not apply very easily. It just didn't glide on my face. It really tugged on my eyelids. It's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful concept. It just didn't do it for me. So I tried it in my waterline. It didn't work the best there. I don't need my eyeliner to work really good in the waterline. That is where I mostly use eyeliner. I'm not really someone who's doing it on the top of my lash line. I really like to tightline with it, and I like it in the waterline. So it's not good for that. But I don't always judge an eyeliner based on that, because some eyeliners are just not made to be put in the waterline and they don't perform well. So I did try this on my eyelids. I found that it really, really, really just dragged on my skin, and it didn't apply any pigment right away. And it was something that I had to go back and forth on. And if there's one thing I don't want an eyeliner to do, I do not want it to drag on my skin. And another thing that happened when I was using it, again, this is my experience with this particular one, that it crumbled off the end a couple times on me when I was using it, which I didn't really understand, because it's when I just swatched it on my hand, didn't feel dry, didn't feel crumbly. There was something that on my eyelids, I could not get it to do it. With this kind of thing, I want full opacity in one swipe. The more I have to go back and forth over top of it, the more likely I'm going to do something catastrophic that is hard to fix, and that happened every time I use this. And so the one thing that I thought I might like it for would be graphic liner. But I had the same problem on other parts of my eye, so not just right above my eyelid, but even on the outskirts of my eye. So if I was doing a graphic liner and I was going all the way out here, it still was having the same issues that it would if I was putting it on my, it's just not for me. I thought it was bad. I don't often land on I feel like something is bad. Normally I can give it the benefit of the doubt, but this eyeliner, in my opinion, is not a product that I would seek out. However, as I said earlier, my friend Andromeda said that this is the one that they think is the least impressive in the line, and that the other shades have worked out better for them, which is great. However, if you're releasing a line of products, I expect the quality control to be the same for all of them. If I'm buying an eyeliner and I'm oh wow, this eyeliner is so good, I want to buy this eyeliner in a different color. But if I buy that eyeliner in a different color and that different color behaves differently, the brand has failed. In my opinion, it should be consistent across all of them. I feel sure, maybe I bought the wrong color, not the wrong color for me. I think it was the color that I want. All the stuff I bought with the intention of putting on my skin together for a complete look with only Kaleidos products. That was what I wanted to do. So it was the right shade for that. It was. I think it was. I just feel like it shouldn't be a wrong shade, and I don't think that I should have such a vastly different experience from everyone else. I don't know. I feel really let down by this because it's a really cool thing. I don't have any multi-chrome eyeliners. I know that Kaleidos is not the only brand that makes them, but I thought, wow, it'd be really cool if I tried this and I really liked it, and it's something that I could use as a tool, like as a utility, like whenever I felt so inclined. It just isn't serving that purpose. I would sooner use one of my multi-chromes from Cliona, or I would go into like one of my Pat McGrath palettes and take Mayron mixing medium to make my own liquid liner before ever reaching for this. Is a gel liner, but it just, I don't know, it didn't do it for me. That's the worst part. We're through the worst part. If that made you feel bad, if you're a fan of Kaleidos and that made you feel, just know that that's the worst I have to say. And that's maybe the harshest, I don't know. There are some foundations that I've given like harsh critiques to, and I think that's like maybe the harshest I've been in some time. So I apologize for being harsh, but it is what it is. Next up, the thing that I was the next least impressed with, but a product that I don't think is bad. The Space Age Gifted highlighter, and it is a multi-chrome highlighter. They have two different formulas of highlighters. This is the more expensive one. And what this is like a multi-dimensional highlighter. That's what it looks like in a swatch. So it has a beautiful like shift to like greeny to pink. I also have it on my cheeks today. I'm wearing glasses, so it's on top of some other things. What I'm summing my feelings up on this is that this is just not a highlighter for me. I think what's going on right now is I don't dislike highlighter. I actually really like highlighter. But what I have kind of learned about myself recently, much like how I feel about eyeshadow, is that like I feel like I have the highlighters that I want in the kind of shades that I want. I have highlighters like this where they're like multi-chromatic. I have them in my collection. They've already been invited in. They're already in the drawers. So like I really love Ritual Defee's metamorphic highlighters. Now, not all of them are as shifty as this, but it's kind of a similar idea, like larger like glitter particles in a highlighter, like a little bit of a shift to them. So I did compare this to the Fawn whenever I did Kaleidos versus my own makeup collection. The Fawn it was not as intense. So this definitely has like, it's not a very like strong base pigment, but it has like a base pigment to it. So it just felt more pigmented on it. And it was arguably much more intense than the Ritual Defee one. So if you are like into highlighter that like is gonna do like fun shifty things, then I think you'd really like it. I have no complaints about it. Like I don't really actually have complaints about the formula. It's just like not something that I'm looking for right now. But I think what's interesting about this is that there's a green shift to it, and I've seen it on my hands, but I have yet to see the green shift really happen on my cheek. For some reason, whatever, I don't know if it's just the angle that I can see light at coming at me, the duochrome doesn't ever just like shift to green on my cheek. And I do often base it with the blush that I bought from Kaleidos, which is pink. And I think that's why but I even use it with like other blushes and it like always pulled pink on me. So I don't know what that magic is. I don't know what that movie magic that I somehow, which is like, it's only pink on me. It's really pretty. It's the least impressive packaging of the Kaleidos packaging. Like it's cute. It's really cute. Like I would rather have it be in this tin, but like in a flatter, bigger thing. It could be the same amount of product, just like in a flatter pan. I don't like, this feels like unnecessarily like chunky to me. And then when you open it and you see like the pan in there, it's like a little disappointing compared to like whenever you're looking at like, look at how much bigger and again, they could literally have the same amount of product in them. This doesn't say like, but this has 8 grams of product. I don't know how many grams of product is in this Kaleidos one, but it could also be 8 grams. It could just be like a very deep, small pan. I'm accustomed to my powders like being in this kind of packaging, and there's some kind of illusion that I like of that like larger pan, even if it doesn't have like this, if it has like less product in it. I just like that when I'm dealing with face products. I preferred this as an eyeshadow because I felt like it's pretty. And I often threw it on the inner corner. If I felt like my look was like lackluster and I wanted to like just pump it up a little bit, I would like reach into the drawer and just like throw this on the inner corner real quick. I'm not gonna hold on to this because I think that someone else will like use this all the time, then I know that I won't. And I have other special highlighters that do something very similar, and so I don't need to hold on to this, and I prefer those over this. But it's really pretty, it's very cool, and I think if you were looking for something like this, then you would probably really, really like it. Also, I will say this, I have been told that the packaging for the cheaper ones is better than the packaging for the more expensive ones. And Kaleidos, why is that? So the next thing I bought is the Flowing Haze quad. So that's that guy. It's like a nice cool toned little quad. So you get 3 mattes and 1 duochrome. It is obviously what's on my eyes today. First things first, I applaud them on this packaging. It is so much better than I could have imagined. And I said that in my initial video, but like the packaging is like, it's nice. It's like, it's nice and luxe. It's not even just like interesting to look at, because I've tried things from brands like Chantecaille where the packaging looks really pretty, but then you like hold it in your hands and it feels like it's gonna break. Victoria Beckham has like very heavy packaging that feels very like, huh? And like this leans more towards the feeling of a Victoria Beckham product than it leans toward the quality of a Chantecaille product. Both of those are really expensive brands, and Kaleidos is like doing better than Chantecaille, in my opinion. Now, there's something to be said that this is soft packaging, and I imagine if you like really put this through the ringer, it's probably gonna look a worse for wear, and this is probably gonna get really gross. My relationship with this did not get so far, so that's like a caution I have, but not something that I can say for certain has happened. I love interacting with this, and this is really cool. Like, it's just very cool. I don't really care for like this kind of thing, but you know, whatever. Small complaint. You also get a mirror in here, but this is what the quad looks like. Okay. So eyeshadow is not the thing that excites me the most at this point. So I'm really objectively reviewing eyeshadow in such a way. Here's what I will say. Their eyeshadows are very good. I had no problems blending them. I had no problems with them lasting on my eyes. I have really oily eyelids. I, of course, had to use an eyeshadow primer with them, but I felt like they never faded throughout the day. They like held up their opacity. And I have really no complaints about the eyeshadows, but I do have like a critique, I guess. What I go to like indie brands for whenever I'm seeking something special, because oftentimes indie brands are going to make the things that like major brands are not going to make because they know their audience. Like, and not to say that big brands that are in Sephora's and Ulta's don't know their customer base, but like indie brands seem to have like a very interpersonal connection, and indie brands often will make very sparkly and textured things. So this shimmer in here, this duochrome, just leaves a lot texturally to be desired for me. And obviously I understand that this is an eyeshadow quad, so I'm only getting 4, but I would have loved another shimmer. I would have loved either these 2 mattes or these 2 mattes and then a topper, because the duochrome is pretty, but I felt like every time I wore it, I needed to like pump it up. Like, I just felt like it was never enough for me, but that is also my personal taste. If we're gonna do a quad, I need more textural things. And I think a good thing to compare it to, in my experience with the Charlotte Tilbury quads, there was a matte, there was a satin, there was like a shimmer shade, and then there was like a very glittery topper. And I just think that format for a quad is a little bit better. Now, obviously you have some control over what you do with the mattes here. So you could just do these 2 in the topper, or, you know, you could just kind of play around and you can play with whatever level of depth that you would want with an eyeshadow look when you have 3 mattes. It just is like, we only have 4 spaces. I just think we did not allocate like very well like what was going on. I just would love more texture, and I know that's like a big ask out of an eyeshadow quad, but I only really need you to replace one of these shades with like something that's not this shimmer. The other thing that I don't really, so this is like personal preference, as I've never had any issues with them blending out. They are just more pigmented than I like my eyeshadows, and that might sound like a crazy thing because I feel like so often people like complain about a lack of pigmentation. It's not that I don't want eyeshadow that isn't pigmented. I just want eyeshadow that like does not go on fully pigmented. And with this shade in particular, I felt like I like really didn't have a lot of control. Like, it always just was the depth that it was, if that makes sense. Like, and even like as I blended out, it still kept its depth, and then it was just like it would kind of grow. Again, it blended out beautifully, and I'm not actually complaining about the performance of it because I think it performed well. I just think that this kind of shadow formula is like not for me, but it applied the way I like it. So a thing I often talk about with eyeshadow is that like my favorite way to apply eyeshadow is just soft strokes. Like I go in once, like I tap my brush in once and then I tap off excess and I just like build and build and build. And these really allow me to do that with the kind of like the exception of this one. So it allowed me to build eye looks the way I like to build them. It afforded me that, because sometimes whenever you're dealing with this kind of level of pigmentation, you're not afforded that, and it's like really hard to build an eye look. You have to like you don't have to like pack these into the skin, because sometimes just with my experience with indie brands and like bright colorfuls, and these are obviously neutrals for the most part with the mattes here, it didn't feel like they were fussy. They always did what when I think of my preferred eyeshadows, I'm thinking like of Viseart. I'm thinking of the Hindash palette, where it's just like kind of almost at first it's like this really light wash, and then you just build and build and build, and then it gets you. But like, I know that sounds bad because it sounds like frustrating. It's like, no, it's just like, it feels more intuitive to me to apply eyeshadow that way. So having a lot of pigment at first and then being able to blend it out is just like not for me. Kaleidos ever releases an eyeshadow palette that feels like something that vibes with me, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. I think that these eyeshadows perform very well. It's not that I wouldn't buy another eyeshadow palette from Kaleidos. It wouldn't be the first brand. So like, let's say if like Kaleidos released a palette and another brand released a palette whose eyeshadow formula I like more and their color stories were similar, I'm gonna opt for that other brand over Kaleidos. But one thing that Kaleidos does really well is they really make very interesting color stories. So that's something that's going for them. And I foresee a Kaleidos eyeshadow palette coming out where I feel all in and I feel like I need it, and I would not hesitate to buy it. I mean, assuming that I really took the time to consider it and thought that, like, you know, would it add to my collection? Yeah. Like those are like, it's not impossible that I would see another Kaleidos eyeshadow palette come through my way. I just think that this one in its time with me is up, but I'm sure one of my friends or one of my internet friends would love to have this and really use it and give it the love it deserves, because it's a really good quad. It's just not a really good quad for me. Now we're getting more into like the more exciting things. So I feel like eyeliner, no. Highlighter, not for me. Eyeshadows, not for me. Next up, I have two of the Lip Cloud Lab Clay. Cloud Lab Lip Clay. I have two. And so I have the shades Echo Valley and I have the shade Golden Rosin. So I'm going to swatch these on the back of my hand for you. This is Golden Rosin and this is Echo Valley. Let's talk about the formula and then we'll come back about the shades because I have feelings about the shades. This formula is not my favorite lipstick formula, but what it is a lovely liquid lipstick formula that I find entirely tolerable. I have reached for them a lot because, well, one, I was thinking about them a lot. They are nice because they are a liquid lipstick in the way that they like provide you a little bit of longevity that other ones don't. It's not 100% transfer proof. Like you get a little bit of transfer, like if you kiss the back of your hand when you're wearing it. That's like my speed of lipstick where it's like, I don't need it to be transfer proof. So if you're looking for like 100% transfer proof, like budge proof liquid lipstick, I don't think these lip clays are going to be the thing that are for you. They are so strange to put on the lips. Like they're almost so silicone-y feeling. You're like, I don't understand. So whenever you put them on your lips and you kind of like do that to like kind of blend things together, it's not incredibly slippy, but it's like slippier than you expect it to be. But you can feel it on your lips, but not in a negative way. Because I remember using something like the Kat Von D or the Atomic lipsticks that I really loved, where it would just be like really wet and it would just like move around. It doesn't move around like that. I do find that I had to put a couple of layers on. Like I normally have to do like 2 layers, and the first layer always looks really rough, and then the second layer always pulls it all together. It doesn't feel like I have a ton of product on my lips when I do that. It's very light, very airy, kind of, you know, giving into that name, that the cloud. I find them to be incredibly comfortable, but you do have just like some of the caveats that come with like a liquid lipstick. So after a few hours of wear, I would get like, not like the white ring, but like it would just kind of start like flaking off a little bit. And at that point, I would just like kind of just like take it off, and it was never a big deal. So, but like I wore it to dinner. It didn't survive food, like but I also don't need, I always bring my lipstick with me and I'm gonna reapply it. And I felt like after food it was always really easy to apply, but like if I wasn't like eating food and that wasn't how the, like if it would just flake sometimes. In my opinion, it wasn't like a huge problem, but I know that there are people who like look for just bulletproof lipsticks. I never felt like it makes my lips dry. I do feel as though you have to do lip prep going into it. I think if you have any texture on your lips, it's like not gonna work out. That's kind of the case for any kind of liquid lipstick though. So you kind of have to play by the same rules as any other liquid lipstick. So I always, I mean, I end with my lip. I know some people put their lip on first to kind of build their look around it, but like I put lip balm on and like, my makeup, however long I'm talking or whatever, it takes me anyway. Like if I'm doing a video, for example, it's like I have the lip balm on for like 30 minutes to an hour. By that time, any of the dead surface cells that are on the top of my lips are really easy to like wipe off with like a coarse towel or something. That's what I mean by prep. So just like a little bit of like a lip scrubby just to make sure all the dead skin is off your lips before you apply. Unless you take really good care of your lips, which honestly I don't. Like honestly I don't. So like if that's not an issue for you, you might be able to go in cold turkey, but like I can't. I would not hesitate to buy more of these. The one thing that Kaleidos does, this is like, and I don't, it's kind of, I feel like they kind of have built their brand around their lipsticks now, is that the shades are incredibly nuanced. They're just really honed in. And obviously I only have the two that I have. But even when I've seen other, like my friends online, like on Instagram, wear theirs, the color's just like, they got it. Like even with their nudes, they're just like, they're so varied. I think what they offer is like really, really good lipsticks and like really, really, really like good colors. Like I think that like Kaleidos has that down pat. I see a past me that would have won all of them because I enjoy the experience of not only wearing these, but like looking at them. This color, this is Echo Valley. It is what's like one of the colors, it's this cool toned brown, almost with like some purple in it. And it is a vision. It is everything I've ever wanted in a lipstick color. Is it my favorite lipstick color? It might be. Like, it might be because I have other browns in my collection. So I have a Royal Scandal from Gucci. I have Merit's 1990. I have the I Need a Nude from Natasha Denona and Noah. And those are all kind of along that line of like a brown with like, woo, like you're just like, what's going on there? Those are the kind of lipsticks, not really nudes, but like browns, like the browns that like take me there. I like a warm brown. I like a cool tone brown, and like, but like this is like, ooh. So whenever I'm pulling off a cool tone look, this is like the brown. This is the brown that I've picked. And it kind of takes over, a Royal Scandal for me as far as color goes. They are not the same kind of formula though. So this is matte. A Royal Scandal is a satin finish, and I like both. But a Royal Scandal, I feel like has green in it, whereas this is like more purple. So it depends on what kind of grungy look I'm going for. But both are beautiful. Both give me that grungy lip fantasy I'm always on the hunt for. Like no matter how pretty my eye look is, I want it to look like Scars to Stars Beauty, Danny. She's like, she loves baby poop colored lipsticks. I love baby poop colored lipsticks too. And so it's giving me that whole baby poop fantasy. Now let's talk about Golden Rosin. This one I'm a little sad about. So in here, it's serving like full grunge, right? It's like orange, but like kind of like there's more going on to it. It just looks like it's gonna be this like really orangey, grungy fantasy. So like I was putting on like these really grungy yellow, green eye looks, and then I would put this on and it just looked orange on me. So that probably might have to do with like my undertones or like the color of my lips. But for some reason, it just like looked like a very normal orange on me. And it was such a bummer. The caveat to that statement is that I love orange lipstick too. It's like brown and orange. So it works out, right? Like, and so I'm still like, I still love it. It's just not what I wanted it to be just like more. So I do want to try Cider from Black Moon's Cosmetics because it looks like similar, but I also, now that I had that experience with this one, I'm like, what if I buy that and it does the same thing? So anyway, that's on my to-do list, is to try cider, because I am chasing after something like this to give me more, but I am inviting both of these into my makeup collection. I have other orange lipsticks, by the way, but none of them are quite like this. Well, they're not matte, and this one is a little bit darker. I have more of like a red orange, or like, it looks orange to me, but it also has more red in it. And I also have like a more like neon orange lipstick. So this will add to me. And then obviously I mentioned that Echo Valley is like, you know, kind of one of the colors that like dreams are made of for me. So yeah, I'm gonna accept these two. They've been invited. I also should explain the caveat that like, I'm not really a liquid lipstick person. I like a comfortable matte, and that's what these like, they're like comfortable mattes. They don't feel exactly the same on the lips, but like Givenchy makes a really comfortable matte, and like this is also like very comfortable and wearable. The next thing I would like to share with you, the thing I liked the second most, is the Symphony Trio. I love this. I don't like the shape of this packaging, but I love interacting with this packaging. It's nice and weighted. So I love interacting with this. I really do. It's like, I love interacting with it. I just think it's nice, it's weighty, it's like beautiful too. I just don't like it. I mean, it's shaped like a K for Kaleidos, but whatever. So this is what it looks like on the inside. These powders are beautiful. They're like nice and finely milled. They blend flawlessly into the skin. I really don't know what else to say. Like, they are just like a no fuss kind of powder. That's so nice to see in a contour. I talk about this a lot, but I love to contour, but I know not everyone's gig is to contour. A lot of people just use their bronzer. The actual like act of contouring with like something with the purpose of like making shadow with contour is scary for a lot of people, because they think it has to be more than it actually does. And so it scares them. And so not everyone really likes the contour product, but I could confidently tell someone who's like afraid of contouring, if they were like interested in contour powders, that like, I think that this is like a really good place to start, because they're not super pigmented, and like they blend into the skin just like seamlessly. Like, they become one with the skin in a way that was just incredibly unexpected. I love contour powders, and this is definitely like the least fussy contour powder situation that I have ever kind of interacted with. I at one point had the KVD contour thing that everybody had, and I found that always, like, I feel like I always overdid it, even though that was like kind of the look at the time, you know, back when I had that. And then I also have one of the Kevin Kwan ones, and I do feel like that it's like pigmented. Now, to be fair, the one I have is old. I got it. I don't know how many years old it was whenever I got it from my friend. It could just be past its prime. And like, it still works, but it's like, you know, maybe it wasn't as, and I don't think it's hard to use, but like, I think there might have been a time for it where it was just like, felt easier to use. But, and this is a big but, I hate that this is a trio, and I wish it didn't come in a trio. I only want this. It is hard to find a contour that is actually cool toned, because the market has shifted. What people tend to favor is because they see that people do this bronzer. When they make contours, they put more warmth in them than we need. Now, I'm speaking specifically for the contour shades that I'm looking for as someone with with fair skin, with like light fair skin. I'm speaking for me. So they see that a lot of people with my skin tone are like more attracted to something that has warmth to it. So they'll make something that looks gray, but when you put it on the skin, it like warms up a little bit, where it's like not quite something that I would call a bronzer, but it's not quite something that I would say is a true contour. This shade here, I would say is like, this is a true contour for me. It is the contour color of my dreams. It is beautiful. What they want you to do is to use this as like your first step, and then deepen it with this. But in my opinion, this is a bronzer. I don't think it's cool toned. Like, it is certainly not the warmest bronzer I've seen, but it reads more as a bronzer for me. So that's how I've been wearing it, as a bronzer. I don't want another bronzer. If it was like this, but like a shade deeper, and it kept this cool tone, I would be more okay with that, but I still wouldn't want this. This is the thing that blows my mind, is that they sell this, which is a setting powder, in a single, or like a finishing powder. I don't know really what they're trying to call it. And it's fine. It does that. I'm not gonna use that over this. This is like a Chantecaille Perfect Blur finishing powder. This is just what I'm gonna finish my skin with. And so what's gonna happen if and I'm not keeping this, I'm gonna pass this on to a friend. If I keep this, this is the only thing I will hit pan on, and then I will, if I were to keep this around, I would finish this. I have finished contour powders before. That's like not out of the realm of possibility for me. And then I would never touch this again because I wouldn't pull out the one for the bronzer, and I'm certainly not using the setting powder. And the thing is, if you love all three of those powders, then yeah, this is gonna be like A1, perfect. This is my qualm with face palettes. Any kind of face palette is just like, I don't want that. Like, I just don't want you to pick what you think I need, and then also not to have the option. Like, if you even had refills, I don't think that these pop out, but if you made refills, I would buy that contour to put in a magnetic palette and use, because I love it. Like, I love it. It's like literally my favorite contour powder I've ever used. I love it. Lunatic Cosmetic Labs also makes a really good contour powder, but it's a little too gray. It's definitely like if you are someone who is like fair. They sell the contour palette, which has the blushes and the bronzers in it, but you can also buy the individual shades to replace them. And so I think that Kaleidos needs to reconsider, either sell all of these shades individually as well as in a palette, or maybe you can BYO palette. Maybe I would do, I would mix up, I don't know, give me options. I don't like this as an option, and that's why I'm passing it on. That's the unfortunate part of this. It's beautiful, but I'm not interested in this setting powder at all. It's not beating all of my other setting powders that I really like. It doesn't have what I want from a setting powder. Not that it doesn't work, it does, but I want setting powders that like refract light, make my skin look more perfected or really blurring. And while it certainly mattifies and does a little bit of pore refinement, it's not doing what my other stuff is doing. And so it's just like, it's whatever. And I have other bronzers I like more than this bronzer. It's just like, I don't know. And if you have been watching my channel at all since I bought these Kaleidos products, you will not be surprised that my #1 product is the blush. This is in the shade Dreamwalk. It is this beautiful pink. Now, I should say that I don't know if I bought another shade that I would have had the experience that I did with this. It's in first place because this color, is a banger color and really resonated with me in a way that I wasn't expecting. Before I brought this to my life, I said, I don't wear pink. I don't wear pink blush. I don't really like pink eyeshadow. I'm not wearing a lot of pink, okay? And then I put this on and I was like, well, my mind has been changed. Like, look at how good it looks. Like, I can't argue. I would love to be able to be like, well, it doesn't even look good on me, but it does. It looks really good on me. It's beautiful. Now, some have said that this can be a dupe for like the Dior. This does not have the pH changing thing that the Dior does that gives you that je ne sais quoi. So if you have fairer skin, to me, it might do what that could do. But if you have deeper skin, I don't know this is going to afford you the same grace that the Dior one does. I don't know. I don't have the Dior one. I've never interacted with it. It has similar packaging to the eyeshadow palette. It's not as heavy as the eyeshadow palette, but obviously it's like a little bit bigger. But it's like just as divine to interact with. It's nice, beautiful. It also has a little mirror on it. It's very pretty. It says butterflies there's like a lace and there's like butterflies in it. Beautiful. Also, the formula is also a banger. So I think I would have gotten along with any of the blushes, but like the fact that the formula was really good, but also this shade changed my life and made me feel some kind of way. Because again, I wasn't interacting with pink blushes in any kind of way. And I'd been on the hunt for like cool toned blushes last year, and I like kind of just disregarded like pink. And then everyone kind of like is moving away from this bubblegum pink. And I was like, but wait, what about me? I'm here. I've arrived. This is kind of a scary color, right? When it's kind of a scary color when you're looking at it, you're like, is that going to be too pigmented? It isn't. Like, it's just like the contour powder. It's finely milled and like just melts into the skin, and it's not a lot of work. And every time you put the one layer on and it's visible, and then it's like you can really go from there how much you want to take it. There's not very many blushes where I'm like it's foolproof, where I feel like I can keep going and it's like not gonna be scary. The Hourglass blushes are blushes that I think that are kind of foolproof. You can kind of like do whatever, and like they're gonna be really agreeable with what you do. And it's kind of like it's not the same as an Hourglass blush, but it like affords you that same buildability and affords you that same like, it's not going to be a hard product to use. So I think if you have issues applying blush and where you kind of go in ham, that like this formula would be something to consider trying. And would I buy other shades of this blush? I probably won't buy other shades of the blush. It's not that I don't like this formula, because I obviously enjoyed it very much and I really love this color, but I think I got the color right on the first try. And I'm not one of those people who feels like once I try a shade of something that I need to try all of the shades. Like this made me really happy. And I don't know that any of the other shades could have met the expectations that this one has now set. You know how whenever you like buy a bunch of colors in a formula that you like, and then you end up finding the one color that like really resonates with you and then you use it more? That's what would happen, I think. It's like, I would buy like the orange one, and I love orange blush. Orange blush is like, chef's kiss. I love orange blush. But I feel like if I bought the orange blush, I still wouldn't reach it for as much as this. And the other reason is like I have a lot of orange blushes, and it probably wouldn't stand up to my other orange blushes because I really love those ones. And I have a relationship with them that I don't have with this. And this got afforded the benefit of like, I don't have anything like it, and it just is really good. I would buy this again in a heartbeat. It is invited to my collection. So of all the Kaleidos products I bought, I'm keeping both of my lipsticks, and I'm also keeping the blush. I just would like to wrap up my final thoughts with Kaleidos. Now, I know Kaleidos has just announced that they discontinued their original 5-pan palettes, and I don't know what the fate of the Flower Punk palette is. Now, someone said in my live stream, and I didn't like verify this, that Kaleidos is going more neutral, and I hope that's not the case. Well, I love neutrals. I do. I know how boring that is. And I think that's a weird shift for a brand that has built its status as like a cult indie brand that is known for its bright colors, especially if you're going to make the lipsticks, which they seemingly are, because they release like these 4 or 8 lip color collections occasionally. I think that we're going to see a shift from them, and I don't know what it's going to look like. Kaleidos far exceeded my expectations. I really thought that I wasn't going to like it as much as I did. There's something about that mid-tier price point where it's like, it's a scary price point to me, because I feel like anytime I buy something from the drugstore and it works really well, I'm like very pleasantly delighted about it. But there's something about the buy-in to that mid-tier price point where it's like, if I don't like this, I'm going to be more annoyed if I didn't like something that I paid a drugstore price for. And I understand that I also tend to buy things that are more expensive. That tends to be where I put my money, right? Like those are the brands that I buy from, whatever. I think it's important to review those products and say that they are bad and not worth your money as well. But I just find that I'm so picky about what I even choose to buy from those expensive brands. Very rarely do I get something and I like absolutely hate it. It's either I buy it and I'm like, this either wasn't made for me, or it's like, you know, it's so there's something about this mid-tier price point where I feel like I end up like hating it more, because it's like at this annoying price point where it's not a drugstore cost, but it's like not more expensive where I can be like really mad that it didn't work out for me. Anyway, Kaleidos kills it with the packaging, interacting with everything except for the highlighter, which I didn't really like interacting with, but like the blush packaging, the lipstick packaging, the eyeshadow packaging, the contour trio packaging, all is like very heavy. And like I said, it exceeds brands like Chantecaille, which is a brand where a blush can cost you anywhere between $75 and $110. But like, I would rather interact with the Kaleidos, and I have interacted with, I have purchased from Chantecaille. I have this right in front of me, and I will tell you, this feels more expensive than interacting with this. Now, the formulas inside, different story. But I don't think even Chantecaille always kills it with the formulas. And that's another thing to say, these formulas are beautiful. The only thing I didn't like is the eyeliner. The eyeliner is bad. I didn't like it. All these formulas feel like really well thought out, like they knew what they were doing. And while the eyeshadows like are not like my preferred kind of eyeshadows, I know that there are people who are gonna really love those eyeshadows. I can even see people who be like, oh, Kaleidos makes my favorite mattes and my favorite shimmers, and I would completely understand. I get it. Like Kaleidos is really doing something special at a price point that is more approachable. And I almost would say that like it gives me that feel of luxury without having to spend the luxury price point. So I hope they keep up thoughtful packaging, because I think people at that price point deserve packaging that feels well thought out and beautiful and special, because that is great. It was the thing that floored me when I first opened the products. But I also hope that they continue to innovate and think things through, because I know that they released a contour palette before the Symphony trio, and I know that didn't go over as well, and they went back to the drawing board, and then they released this, which is like a banger. So it seems like they're on it. So I hope as the 5-pan palettes move along, whatever comes next, I'm hoping that it will bring the people who really love color back to Kaleidos, because I know a lot of people, when I posted my first video, said they haven't made a purchase from Kaleidos in some time, because it's like they haven't really been interested in what Kaleidos has been doing with these neutral quads with a pop of color. I think they're onto something that is much more interesting than like the other mid-tier brands. So when I'm saying that, I'm thinking of like Ariana Grande's brand. I think they fall in that mid-tier price range where it's like, it's more expensive than other things, but like not as expensive as like other things. So my thought there is like, they're doing much more interesting things than I think a lot of other price points, other brands in this price point, because I find that other indie brands are like more expensive than Kaleidos. So like, they're like really doing something special. I think they're hitting some marks that other brands just aren't doing. So for that, I commend them. I think if you want to try anything from Kaleidos, I would say that you're very likely going to have a really great experience with it. I would just say the thing that you need to be most thoughtful about, and I think this is anytime you're exploring any brand, be really thoughtful about color choices and things that you think that you would use a lot. For the purposes of reviewing a brand, that's not always what I'm doing, because I don't really want to keep all the makeup that I buy. And that might sound really strange to you, but like also reviewing makeup is a part of what I do. And like if all of this worked out for me and all of them were bangers and I felt like I was going to get a lot out of them, I would absolutely keep them all. But I also like very realistically like can't keep every single thing that comes in here, because I have one set of 5 drawers from IKEA, my little IKEA Alex drawers, and that's where all the makeup, it all needs to stay in there. When it starts bleeding out of there, I have too much. It's overwhelming for me, and I can't keep track of it. And so that's just a me thing. I'm not judging anyone who has more makeup than me. That's my personal cap. Oh my god, I forgot to mention this. I'm keeping this. I gave away. Get ready with it. I got rid of Westman Atelier's Pop It, and I passed it on to a friend because I know I'd wear this more than I would wear Pop It. I like never pulled out Pop It. It was like it was still a cool tone pink, but it was like a little bit warmer, but it didn't do what this one did it for me. Pop It didn't really do it for me. A beautiful blush. My friend's gonna wear it more than me, and I already gave it to her. I gave it to her like a month ago. That wraps up this video. Have you tried Kaleidos? Is there anything that you would like to share with me about Kaleidos? I know a lot of you that have been here with the first Kaleidos video already kind of shared your thoughts and how you thought it's really interesting whenever people are disappointed about how I feel about a product. Just because I don't like something, it doesn't mean that it changes its value to you. You really like it, and that's okay. It's okay that we have different tastes in makeup. That answers a question for you. It's like, you know, if the way I talked about these eyeshadows you disagree with, it means that we have a different approach to eyeshadow, and if you really love this formula more than I do, that way whenever I talk about eyeshadows in the future, when you hear me say the things that I said about the Kaleidos palette that I considered to be a negative, you could be like, oh, that's a lot like the Kaleidos formula. I know I like the Kaleidos formula. Tom didn't. Maybe this is an eyeshadow form. You're creating that experience. You're collecting the knowledge as I interact with things and you hear me interact with things. That provides you with like more context for like how we both feel about makeup. Does that make sense? And I just honed into that. Just because I'm disappointed in something doesn't mean it's a bad product. It's just like not something that was for me. And that's not me trying to avoid like negative feedback. It's just like, it's something that I see happen sometimes where people are really sad when a creator doesn't like something that they love. It doesn't devalue how you feel. It shouldn't devalue how you feel about something. It just means that we have different taste. And that's absolutely okay. No makeup item is going to work for every single person. And that's just the reality of it. Anyway, I'm going to leave. Would love to have you subscribe. If you aren't already subscribed, I would really appreciate you subscribing. And make sure you like this video so other people who maybe haven't pulled the plunge on Kaleidos, pulled the plug on Kaleidos, might see this video and be like, let me see what that person has to say. It helps me in the algorithm. I got some more of my merch samples in. It's exciting. Patrons, you've already seen it. Join my Patreon if you'd like. Again, no pressure. Happy that you made it all the way through this video. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna leave. Okay. Remember to follow your haute and you will find me. I will see you in a video very soon. Bye-bye.